Thanks for tuning in today. Has anyone looked at you and said, "Don't talk to me like that"? All right, we're here to help you. We want you to be a better person. Welcome to Kingdom Speak with Pastor Daniel McKillop. I'm guessing your mama said that once or twice to you when you were...
Never.
No, you were the perfect child.
Yes,
okay,
never.
well, let me tell you a story about me.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't talk to me like that, right? Or...
I don't like how
Yes.
you're talking to me.
Yeah. I mean, and as a child, you're just thinking that you're asking the question. But now as an adult, you realize, oh, man.
You were settling scores with the question you were asking.
If I knew then what I know now, I think I would have got more out of my parents.
Sure.
Don't you think?
Sure.
Don't
If
you
the
think?
approach is right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it. You just summed it up. That's good.
There we go. Welcome to Kingdom Speak, everyone. It's so good. No, really. It's so good to have you here
So
today.
lovely.
It really means a lot to us.
That's good. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, we sure do love recording Kingdom Speak. Oh, yeah.
It's been an awesome 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow, time flies.
I'm
when
so
you're having
excited about
fun.
what God's doing.
Aren't you excited for this week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, do
Me
I
too.
ever feel blessed.
God's sure been good to me.
Can I get an amen?
Yeah, I'll just be out here laying in the parking lot. Yeah. Everything's uphill from here. Surely couldn't get worse. Okay.
Co-host, do you have a review that you could read for us?
Yeah, we have a great audience. They love us. 5-star Apple Podcast review. We're back. Sorry, we just lost us there for a minute. God bless, brothers. I love listening to every episode. Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is just, etc. Think on these things. Love y'all in Jesus' name. That's from Dan Shan 7 on Apple Podcasts.
I like it.
Amen to you, Dan Shan. It's just a thing. Like, be advised if you have a review that's read
It could be butchered.
and your name is your iTunes, username, which it is.
You may want to put your name in your review. Yes.
I still might not read it though.
Okay.
Number 2, incredible, inclusive, inspiring. You Canadians sure know how to make a podcast. I've listened for about a month now. Welcome. We've been here a while and glad you're joining us. And I'm loving every second of this awesome apostolic content. I've been going back through old episodes and I've watched how you've grown these past 2 years.
What does that mean?
That's like an underhanded compliment, sort of.
What
Yes.
tone is that read in?
Yes.
Keep improving and keep up the good work. And that's from Raka Bro on Apple Podcasts. Thank you. We'll say amen to you. Oof. There we go. If you haven't guessed yet, we're going to talk to you about communication today. We're going to give you a few pro tips. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we got a few. We got a few.
A
But
few
this doesn't
stories.
mean that we've mastered them.
No,
but,
I was gonna
but
say-
we can tell you how to do
We
it.
have a few stories of don't do it the way we did it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Man. It's conference week for
What-
us, eh?
Man.
So we're a little pumped up.
This is going to be so awesome. We are lined up not only for conference, but this is going to be a conference for our podcast.
Get ready.
Oh,
For fresh content.
Coming down the pipe.
Pike. Yeah, you got
pipe.
You got it. We'll
In
just do
this
pike
chair.
pipe.
In this chair, there will be live, breathing, Bible bomb spitting guests.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's going to get real.
So we're going to bring power to you.
It's going to be
Yeah,
tough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we got to get this episode done so we can start conference.
Yeah, we're going to build a bridge from monotony to that. So here we go.
Here we go.
Thanks for giving us one more week.
That's right.
One more week.
One more.
What percentage would you put the problems of life at the feet of communication?
Oh, man.
Breakdowns in communication.
Nearly 100%.
It's got to be real close.
Yep. Yep. When you root cause analyze things, yeah, for sure. For sure, communication. Especially in relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to confess live on an international podcast.
Global confession.
Yeah, don't judge me. Don't judge me, anyone. But communication is one of probably the biggest struggles of your life. No matter where you go, what position you're in, you have to learn how to communicate properly. And you never conquer it, do you?
Right. And I think that's a two-way street, because you have to learn how to speak to communicate how you're feeling properly. And then you need to develop the skill of receiving communication properly and interpreting properly, perceiving.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a weekly thing when we're sitting down here to discuss this, that I go through, okay, I know what I'm trying to say. Am I saying it from the perspective of how it sounds in my head, but how's it going to sound in your ears? What's because everybody hears it.
It's very challenging.
Uniquely. So communication is not a small topic.
And it's not lost on me that we're communicating about communication through a communications means.
Really?
Yeah. And by you telling us that you like this, will be you communicating
back to us.
That you appreciate us communicating about communicating.
On our communication channel.
Yes.
And you would be commenting on your communication device. So we do need to do this right.
There appears to be a few ways this could break down.
Has anyone noticed I've had almost 3 coffees today?
Yes. I think it's the
What's
Earl
in your
Grey.
cup?
Yeah. We're very sharp
Speaking
today.
of cups,
Yes.
We're very sharp.
what's with the Yeti?
Yeah, I know.
Seriously?
I know. I'm seriously secretly endorsed by them, and I just have to bring it on the show every time.
It's not coffee though. So
This is a Earl Grey tea,
that's right.
if I'm being honest. Because,
That's the problem.
yeah.
Wow. So my dad is known for a number of things: his preaching, his teaching on worship, etc. Let me give you a little inside track and see if this doesn't ring a bell. Maybe with some of you in the audience that have heard him do this, but it is not beyond him to walk up to some little kids standing around, and he'll say, "Your daddy's consecrated. He's dedicated."
No, he's not.
That's exactly. And they're like, "No, he's not." And then he'll say, "Your dad can't even steal sheep." And they're like, "Yes, he can."
The adult standing there is like, oh. Yep. Illustrates it perfectly.
It's all about the tone, right? The reality is that you meet tone before you meet vocabulary.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Somebody sent me, I don't know if it was a reel or some segmented clip of a guy talking about being cussed out. He said, "Now you can be cussed out by someone that does not speak your language and not even know it." Right? So if I don't understand Portuguese, I can literally have someone cuss me out in Portuguese, and I just smile and I don't know what they're saying. So in other words, the words do not have the power to affect you. It's the meaning that you give them.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and I'm not trying to insinuate that words don't matter, but as someone who receives it, you can go, well, I don't care if you're cussing me out in Swahili.
Whatever.
It really doesn't matter, right? I'm not going to allow that and the tone that you're using to affect me. Is that?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
You are both pet owners. How does that work with your dogs?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Now I know you both probably think you have the smartest dogs on the planet.
No.
this
I
morning-
typically fly with them.
Yeah.
my
Lord have
those
mercy.
are not the best ones.
Flying has become nothing but a mobile zoo of late.
Pet value on.
Ugh.
I get the sense you're not enjoying it, or
I seen a guy last night, Scout's Honor. Seen him last night in the Newark airport being towed through the airport. He was standing on a skateboard and a service dog was pulling him through the airport.
That's pretty neat.
wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can train Zena.
It wasn't, I don't know if you picked up on that. It wasn't a Chihuahua.
Oh man, they've got to buy another seat for that dog, or they just
I don't know how
stick
that
them
works.
between. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're training an animal, they distinctly tell you you're supposed to have a praise voice and a correction voice.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Because animals obviously don't speak our language, but for the most part, they do interpret tone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're crazy if we think that.
So you could literally go home to Milo and say, "Good dog."
Milo's a good doggy.
And he would just kind of cower down.
He's gonna just sit and look at me like, "What did I do?"
Or you say, "Get over here, you bad dog."
And your tail just be wagging.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Daddy's got a treat for you, you bad little dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm about to sell you on Kijiji.
Is that my shoe?
Yeah.
So
That's
he's
how
not
we
picking up the vocabulary.
No. Has it ever happened to you with someone? Of course it has. But,
Let's bring it to human relationships.
Yeah, enough of us setting.
So you
the
walk
stage.
home and your wife goes, "Hey babe, how was your day?" And you respond with the one-word summary, which is
Good.
Good. It
How do-
doesn't.
Like I said at the start, and I was being diplomatic and confessing. Confession is good for the soul, but communication in a relationship is. She wants me to talk for 10 minutes about my day. Right?
yes. And the reality is that your answer is right.
Yeah.
You had a good day.
Yeah. But she doesn't
Okay, let's take this conversation out of the sphere of husband and wife relationship, and let's put it to a prof student, or how'd I make out on the exam? Good. And you would go home enjoying your weekend because the pre-calculus exam that you just finished went good.
That's correct.
You wouldn't expect him to give you a 1,000-word summary. You would literally be able, because that's where your relationship is at.
Yep.
Right? I'm not necessarily approaching you for affirmation. I just literally want to know, did I pass or fail?
Yeah, it's almost like a transaction.
Yeah.
It's like security at the airport.
Right.
You don't want them to talk to you for 5 minutes. Generally, it's never a good thing.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
you're good to go,
Yep.
and that's it.
That's right. But on the relational level with your wife, that is not an adequate tone.
Not good enough. That's
Right?
right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm a musician. You're a musician.
I'm not a musician.
Okay.
Randy plays the radio.
Yep. Sometimes.
Have you ever been around someone that is tone deaf?
Oh, man.
Why are you guys looking at me?
Straight ahead.
Or have
Everybody's
you-
staring straight ahead.
Yeah. Have you ever been around someone who has perfect pitch? Right.
Yes, that's also
very-
equally inspiring.
Yeah.
Not equally, actually, much more inspiring.
But even outside of pitch, in terms of tone, I worked at a music store when I just finished school, and it's so cool to watch guys come in and, if you have a classic Fender reverb amplifier sitting there, there's only 4 or 5 tone
Yes. Yep.
knobs on it.
Yep.
But to the right guy, they can sit down with a guitar and make that thing just sound
Absolutely.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Right? But you got to know the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son, who is still,
He's pretty good.
he's still
Doing awesome.
forming his tone,
Yeah.
but that's a compliment
Yeah.
that once a musician masters being able to stay on beat and follow the musical narrative of the composition, then you really start talking on, I like the tone of
Yeah,
that.
you listen to different things.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
you sitting down to a $200 piano, right?
Yes.
Or you're
Yes.
sitting down to the giant grand,
Yeah.
just a different tone.
Yeah. The Steinways and the Yamaha
Yeah.
Radio Shack specials.
Radio Shack. And there's a person that represents both of those musical devices,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Right.
When they talk, it's a Steinway, or when they talk, it's a,
Yes.
yeah,
And you hear it in the
tone.
tone.
So powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of being a musician, now when you start talking church music, tone
Yeah. that's
is
another
even
level.
that much more. You have to be able to match the tone of what God is doing in a service.
Yep.
So in that moment where conviction is established and or
Yep.
you don't want someone sitting down and playing "Look What the Lord Has Done" or I'm gonna see the victory. No, this is like there's room at the cross for you, right? You've got to match the tone.
You ever in those situations as a pastor where the music crew just doesn't match the tone on you?
I got that stare. I got it.
For our audience, this is me throwing bait to see if he'll jump
Yes,
here.
yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Give us a good story.
You've spent all of this time crafting the message, getting it up to the finish line,
Praying about it.
and somebody that is tone deaf gets on
Musicians,
yeah.
pay attention.
Yes.
Pay attention. Yeah.
So at that moment, that introduces conflict to the harmony of the moment. Right?
If you don't hear it, man, you're in trouble.
You are.
Yeah.
You are. So the leader, a musician has to develop that, where a leader sets the tone and they align themselves to that, right? They do say that the Mandarin language, which is I think it's the oldest written language, but the Mandarin language is one of the most difficult to learn because changes of tone change meanings.
Oof. Wow.
It doesn't just accent the meaning, it alters the meaning. So you can literally say the same thing in multiple ways and it means something differently.
Yeah.
So a fair question in this discussion would be for us to ask, do you think tone matters to God?
Sure it does. Yeah. Yeah.
He's all about word. He's all about communication. That's one of the things we've referenced this before. But as a preacher, you are a communicator. That is what you do.
Yeah.
And Jesus was the master communicator.
He was, man.
He had a depth sonar pinging ability that would be able to allow him to engage with political leaders, religious leaders, the who's who of the society. But yet when a fisherman would walk up, he possessed that same ability
Right.
to be able to adjust the tone of what he was saying, to infer that his message was constantly changing based on his audience would not be a fair statement. But the tone was continually adjusted. He didn't speak the same way to kids that he did to the scribes and the Pharisees. Notice the tone of speaking with scribes and Pharisees.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he would knock them on the chin, but yet turn around and speak with a lady on her way to bury her son in a completely different tone. Okay, so does tone matter to God? Let's put a little book on it and see what emerges out of this.
Psalms 19 verse 12 says, "Who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins."
Well, there's a lot of talk that we could do on that.
Yeah, "Let them not have dominion over me. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Let the words of my
Here
mouth..."
we go. Let
the
the
meditation.
words of my mouth. Notice how he breaks this up. So that's the definition of what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. "And the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength, my Redeemer."
It's both.
Wow.
It's allow what I'm saying
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
and how I'm saying it to be in alignment. Have you ever heard someone speaking truth, but they were speaking truth in such a way that it made truth repulsive?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You left the conversation going, it's right, but I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at that moment, it was not what was said, it was what was being,
Yeah.
how that was being said. It was not just the definition of what was said. So the words of my mouth, that's the words that I'm choosing. And we can in an attempt to grab the complete essence of conversing, I don't think we add the meditation to the words of the mouth.
True.
We don't understand the role that what the heart is meditating on really drives the intent behind the word selection.
Oh, man, yeah.
Right?
That's key. Yeah.
Okay? So what I am meditating on day to day drives the actual selection of the words that I'm speaking. Sure. So my word will not return to me void. That's what he said.
That's correct.
But it shall accomplish that for which it was intended. So intent is what is accomplished, not just the word selection. So you literally can communicate truth to somebody, but if your intent is to kill them, it will work.
Man.
But you can turn right around and communicate the same truth to them, and if your intent is to extend mercy, it'll work.
Yeah, I've never really seen that before, but the connection between the word and the
It's
meditation.
what you meditate.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
Yes.
Right? So it does line up with a lot of other truths.
Yes. So if okay, let's go this route. If you are continually obsessed with revenge and retribution and settling scores, and that is what you think about all day long, and that's what you meditate about, do you not think that's going to come across in what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm sure you've had this where you start a conversation with someone and it takes a few minutes, but it gets to where you hear the meditations after a few minutes, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you hear that tone emerging from all of the notes to where...
Because it is our meditation that adds the tone to what we say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? It's no coincidence that Paul would say what he said in Philippians, the 4th chapter and the 8th verse. Familiar passages.
Yeah. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things.
Think on these things. If you can find something with virtue in it to think about, it will affect the tone. Okay? If all you can think about in your spouse, buckle up now, buckle up. But if all you meditate on in your marriage is about what your spouse is not doing and how they are disappointing you and how they are not living up to your expectation of them, they're not fulfilling their responsibilities to you, it will affect the tone of your communication with them.
130% true. Yes, sir.
That part of restoring marital conflict and bringing harmony back to the home is this. you got to start being able to identify what they are doing right, what you appreciate, what you value. So I've sat down with you for the last 45 minutes and you've told me everything wrong with them. They don't pick up their socks. They're never punctual. They don't do the yard work, yada, yada, yada. Now, I want you to be able to identify what you value in the relationship. Because at that moment, if it begins to shift, then your meditation adjusts how you start communicating with them. And the ball begins to change because the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the climate of the home begins to improve.
Sure.
Because
Right?
the tone changes.
Because the tone changes. Because what you're meditating on changes.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that we ignore everything? No, but if you're going to think on something, find something with virtue in it. If you harbor and hang out on revenge and retribution, then you will speak in a bitter, angry tone. But if you hang out with stuff that's got virtue on it and you meditate on that, there's this thing called peace that will come. The God of peace shall be with you. Okay? So I see another example of this in Deuteronomy, the 5th chapter, and we have a fairly lengthy reading, but let's just kind of give it a once over here. Moses is in the mountain. The voice is speaking to Moses. It's burning with fire, etc., etc. And ye said, when ye came unto me, the congregation, behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice
Right.
out of the midst of the fire.
Yep.
We saw today that God talks with men, and men can live.
Yeah.
Now, therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more than we shall die. So this is the whole conversation with wanting Moses to go talk to God and come back, right? We want a mediator.
Yeah.
We want a mediator. And I still think that even those who get a little sideways with apostolic authority, and that can happen, they really, really, really wouldn't want to be the one speaking directly with God.
No, that's right.
I think everybody would come back to when you start seeing the fire of God and God speaking to you out of that, you're happy for a mediator.
Go ahead, Moses. You got it.
Yeah. Okay? Go ahead with verse 26 of Deuteronomy chapter 5.
For who is there of all flesh that have heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go thou near and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it.
You go, Moses.
Right?
Okay.
And the Lord heard the voice
Yes.
of your words.
And the Lord heard the what?
The voice of your words.
Now, wait a minute. He heard the voicing
Of the word.
of the words. He did not just hear the words, but he picked up the tone of what you're saying. Okay? Read on.
When ye spake unto me, and the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto me. They have well said all that they have spoken.
Oh, they have well said all that they have spoken.
Yeah.
The answer to the question, does tone matter to God, is an affirmative.
Yeah. What you say and what you speak.
Yes. Right. So it's safe to assume from this that your voice has words and your words has voice.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Let's put
Right.
on that one. That was pretty good.
And to God, when you are talking to God, make sure you voice what you're saying properly. At the end of anything that I ask him, I want him to be able to say, and that was well spoken. I heard the words and I heard the voice, and that was well spoken.
Isn't this kind of, in my brain, the difference between asking God a question and questioning God?
Well said.
right?
Well said. Job.
Yeah.
Job.
You can get
In all this, he didn't sin with his mouth.
That's right. You can ask.
He
the
asked
question.
some pointed questions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the conversation, it has to be said that was well spoken.
Yeah.
That was well spoken.
Mm.
God's evaluation of what they said was that I'm impressed. I heard what they said and I heard how they said it.
Hmm.
Now, I think it's important that we talk to our kids about this.
Mm-hmm.
That comes back. We already started it. The conversation with this, but I don't like how you're talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
When you're approaching someone in authority,
Mm-hmm.
tone is everything.
Yeah.
In the sphere of leadership that God has called me to occupy, you can ask me anything if your tone's right.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably won't get off with much if your tone's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to point this out to you and give you another example. After this whole concept of them saying, Moses, you go, listen to God, come back and tell us, we'll do what God told you to do, and we'll take it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And God heard that and said, okay, they've articulated that well.
That's right.
Okay? These same people did not always have that testimony.
That's correct.
So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, when Paul uses them as examples for us.
Yep.
Okay?
Verse 6 of 1 Corinthians 10. Now these things were our examples to the intent we should not lust after evil things as also they lusted. Neither be ye idolaters as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed and fell in one day 23,000.
So they had this deal of eating, drinking, and playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they're out of slavery, and because they're free, they think that there's no more work to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's eat, drink, play, and it's an endless cycle of pleasure. Eat, drink, play, eat, drink, play. What comes out of that is fornication.
Mm-hmm.
Immorality emerges out of that. And so judgment is executed. 23,000 in one day.
Yep.
And Paul is giving this to the New Testament church as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're not going there. We're not going to do that. So read verse 9.
Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents.
So don't let us tempt Christ, who some of them did and were destroyed by serpents.
Mm-hmm.
Neither
murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now,
okay. The definition of that word murmur there
mm-hmm.
literally means to mutter, grumble, or say anything in a low tone.
Wow.
So in other words, this people had a tone problem.
Yeah.
They were tone deaf. Okay? The reason that this happened and they were judged by the destroyed by the destroyer, was because they were a muttering, mumbling, grumbling group of people. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just what they said to connect back and circle back to what you was just saying. Mm-hmm. It was how they were saying it. It was not just asking questions, but it was questioning God.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a question to ask God, that's okay.
That's right.
He even encourages us, try me.
That's right.
Test me.
If any man lack wisdom, right? Go ahead and ask.
You got a question, you need to ask.
Yeah.
But you better never question God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So good.
That may seem like just semantics, but that is not semantics. It is all about the tone. Okay? So Paul uses this and says, now this is for our example. So let's go back there and let's read about it. Exodus 15.
15 verse 23 says, and when they came to Marah, They could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses.
So in a low tone, they start muttering these guttural, tonal complaints about we got no water. Okay? And they start murmuring against Moses and saying, what are we going to drink? This is a 3-day trip from the Red Sea. God has just parted the Red Sea, and they had a Sunday night shout down service, unparalleled. Okay? Miriam writes a song, grabs a tambourine, and sings. 3 days later,
Yep, Wednesday, and you're depressed.
the tone is so messed up.
It's like, did you go to the same church service I went to on Sunday?
Have you already forgotten what he did Sunday night?
Man,
Okay?
what's going on?
Exodus 16:2.
And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron
All right.
in the wilderness.
So because it is unchecked, the circle of that tonal murmuring began to expand to where it included Aaron and Moses.
Yeah.
Okay? Now there's a nature here, and I'm wanting us to notice this. So let's go now to Numbers, the 14th chapter and the first verse.
And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought...
Wherefore hath?
The Lord.
Okay, so do you notice the progression here?
Yeah.
You notice the progression?
It's not getting better.
It's not just Moses that they have a problem with now. Okay, it's left the tone of why did you bring us out in the wilderness to die to why did God bring us out in the wilderness to die?
Yep. Big difference.
Okay. This is what happens when you don't give the attention that you need to the tone of what you're saying. It begins to expand until it encompasses everything in the hierarchy of the authority structure that you are in. Starts, got a problem with Aaron, got a problem with Moses. But before it's over, they got a problem with God. Okay? A rebellious, defiant tone that is left unchecked will seek its way to the highest level of authority and then resist there.
That is phenomenal stuff right there. And yeah, even in the business world, you see someone who, the term we kind of use now is toxic, or someone who doesn't respect authority or has a tendency to talk down to colleagues. And you're right, when left unchecked, that just continues to grow and continues to go up the ladder until it's confronted, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now I want you to notice how God responds to this in Numbers 21.
And they journeyed from Mount Har by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom, and the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. And the people spake against God and against Moses.
They spake against God
and
against Moses. Now this has got nothing to do, and we've struck fire with people about this before, and we're not going there today. But I have to poke it on the way by. They spoke against God and against Moses. Now God wanted to wipe the whole bunch of them out, and He gave Moses the opportunity. Moses, stand back.
Yeah.
I'm going to incinerate this bunch of complaining, no good for nothing. And Moses goes, no. If you're going to take them out, take me too. It was Moses that kept the people in the game, not God. So you better thank God for a Moses
Amen.
that will stand between you and a God who is fed up with your tone. Okay? They complained against God. They complained against Moses.
Yeah, wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water. And our soul loatheth this light bread.
Okay, and we're discouraged.
Yeah.
We're discouraged.
Yep. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. And that, children, is the end of the story.
I just want to tell you, when God gets fed up with your tone, he can be creative
Yeah.
with the ways of encouraging you to change your tone. He sends serpents to begin biting the people. I'm not interested in that.
No. You read about this in the Old Testament where when people were talking, they would say, if it please the king, right? That's the tone of, look, we have something that we'd like you to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not do this or else. But man, it's a trap we fall into.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. There is a couple of things that I would like to add to this conversation that I think are great contributors to the tone. So of what a man is saying. So we've already mentioned that tone is greatly affected by what you meditate on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Then tone can be greatly affected by just discouragement.
Yep.
The people of Israel are just discouraged, and we're thirsty, and we're hungry, and we're discouraged. You have to watch your tone.
Yeah.
When you're meditating on the wrong things.
Oh boy.
And when you are disappointed that God has not been meeting the needs that you think that you deserve. They're the I'm not asking for a mansion on a hilltop. Okay? I just want a drink of water and a piece of bread.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But tone matters at that moment. God, the proof is in the text. God knows that you need water and bread. He is not going to expect you to go through a 40-year journey without water and bread. That's not a possibility.
That's right.
Okay? So at that moment, just keep your tone in check.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be disappointed and to be discouraged, but keep your tone in check. Meditate on the fact that the God that brought us through the Red Sea will bring us through this moment. He didn't bring us out here just to die. But the tone that they had some of them brought out of it, and he had to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes from the concern being brought out to die to your attitude qualifies you to being brought out and killed by the judgment of God. So I want to add two more levels to this. We have, again, to recap, we have the fact that your tone is set by what you meditate on. And then disappointments, discouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at an example in 2 Samuel of chapter 12, where Nathan is confronting David. David has just committed adultery with Bathsheba. She's let him know that she's with child. He sent the letter out with Uriah after attempting to get Uriah to come home and sleep with his wife. And even in a drunken stupor, he has more morals than what David had. And so Joab strategically puts Uriah, by reason of the letter that Uriah carries to Joab. Uriah is put at the front line, and then everybody withdraws from him, and Uriah dies. So we have David, who is carrying the unresolved, the weight of unresolved sin in his life, the guilt, okay? He is an adultering, murderous individual. And God sends Nathan the prophet to talk to him in the 12th chapter of 2 Samuel, beginning at verse 1.
And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, There were 2 men in one city, and one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up. And it grew up together with him and with his children, and it did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan, As the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity.
Whew. That's quite a response, isn't it?
Yeah, greatly kindled.
So David is ripped.
Mm-hmm.
Do you pick up the tone of what he's saying here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is in the scope of offenses in Israel's history, and in the scope of legal quagmires that David, in the position of being king, would have to deal with from day to day. I think it would be safe to say that this was a menial judgment call.
Mm-hmm.
A lamb was stolen and offered up. That merits this response. The tone, his anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said, the man that done this must die.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody that just reads that from an objective perspective would say David's overreacting.
All right. Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, we don't read anywhere where there's a law that says that, right?
Right.
To my knowledge.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is we're coming back to what is driving David's tone.
Yeah, that's right.
What is affecting David's judgment? The harshness of David's response to this grievance, it doesn't merit this response. What's driving it? So here's the third thing that affects tone. Guilt affects tone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's the truth.
Right?
Yeah.
David is not responding because of what the man did. David is responding this way because of what David has done and has not fixed in his own life.
So true.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the lashing out and the tone with which David is responding to this has got more to do with David than it does with the man in the story.
Yeah. The guilt tone.
The guilt tone. Right?
Well, this is like you're talking to a child. Did you steal the cookie? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like 1,000 blinks.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Nathan looks at him at this moment and says,
Yeah.
thou art the man.
Instantly knew. Mm-hmm.
Now I want you to notice at that moment, David's tone changes.
Yeah.
And he goes, it was me. And he repented. And the prophet says, all right, God's taken this from you. I mean, that quick. And the tone of conversation is drastically altered by repentance. So the fourth element that sets the tone for conversation is repentance.
Yeah, that's...
Guilt drives tone, but so doesn't repentance drive tone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's safe to say that harshness can often be driven by guilt when a tone of compassion and love is driven not by a perfect man, but by a repentant man.
Yeah. The man who considers himself.
Oh.
Right?
Oh. If you don't have anything to be afraid of, you don't have to add that edge.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's right.
People that always have that edge to everything that they're saying are people that are insecure.
Yeah. It's that tone.
Guilty. There's just that tone. And it's like, man, lay it all down. We all have our issues. We've all fallen short.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here because we serve a merciful God. And that bleeds through in what you're saying.
Wow. no doubt this is helping people today. Man.
So this has everything to do with your home. It has everything to do with your business. It has everything to do with the relationship with your children, with your wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. You know, your home is your personal sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to set the tone for your home and say, this doesn't go here.
That's right. For sure.
The atmosphere in this home, we don't talk to each other that way.
Yeah. Just thinking while you guys have been chatting about it in the home, what I remember as a kid is tone, whether good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I can't remember the words.
Sure.
But I actually think of right now a couple very pivotal points of my teenage years when a parent had a tone of seriousness,
Sure.
whether it be spiritually in the church.
You can just tell.
And that got my
Impact.
attention. And I went, this is serious. I can't tell you what she said.
Yeah.
You still remember.
I
Still remember.
I very much remember.
Yeah.
You still remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's powerful, man.
In that relationship between a husband and a wife, we can't allow the tone of hurt to be louder than the tone of love.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, you know, you hear sometimes how, especially if you travel a bit, and I know travel can be stressful on relationships. People are stressed out about catching flights or getting a certain place, and you hear how couples talk to each other.
Oh.
Yep.
Man, the last trip the four of us went on, and I just remember one incident where we were you're standing in some of the most beautiful places in the world, and you hear how people are talking to each other. Again, you don't know the words, but they're just, it's like,
Ripping.
man, you guys should work on that, you know?
Okay, I really do doubt that there are very many couples listening to us today that hate each other.
Right.
That truly do hate each other.
No,
I think
no,
we flippantly throw that kind of stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
But yet there's times we speak to each other like we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we may pride ourselves, and you should, in the fact that we don't allow our relationship to delve to the dregs of domestic violence. But we give ourselves a pass for being the most hateful, inhumane communicator that exists.
Yeah.
So I didn't slap you with my hand, but I literally took you behind the woodshed,
Verbally
and
abused you.
beat you to death with my lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah. So you don't believe in cyberbullying, but you're going to text that to your
Well, yeah, then there's
significant
that.
other.
Then there's that.
Man.
Yeah, just put some kiss emojis on it, though.
And that's an entire different episode about technology, but
Yes.
tone does not translate, right?
No, it doesn't.
Tone doesn't come through on those little blue bubbles that you send.
Yeah. And and life is real, and
Yes.
pressure is real, and
Yeah.
stress is real.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've got to be careful that we don't allow that stuff to tone what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid that your tone with your coworkers is better than the tone that you use with your wife or your kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's important with children,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're dealing with kids, and they can drive you to a point of frustration.
Yeah.
And you can allow that frustration to cause you to lash out against them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, from an observer standing by, they would say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, he hates his kids."
Yeah.
And I don't believe that he does, and I don't believe that she does.
No.
But boy, it sounds like it. Right?
Man, we are throwing out the pro tips today, aren't we?
Ooh.
Talking as if we have all this under
Oh, my
control.
But really, let's go back to it. How much of it is rooted in what we've used as examples? Either what you're meditating on,
Yeah.
so your kids are disappointing you
Yeah.
and they're not becoming what you want them to be, or your spouse is not living up to your expectation, and you meditate on it. Or you're disappointed
Yeah.
and you think that you deserve better.
Yep. And your expectations could be wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to keep it believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A big one for me is on that meditation thing. It's the collateral damage. So I am thinking or stressing out about something else or occupied with something, and then that affects the tone how you deal with something else.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You gotta be careful.
The
about
collateral damage.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I just took out all of my frustration from scenario A
Put it
on the
B.
scenario B person.
Right. Because I was scared if I and really it's insecurity.
Yeah.
If
it
you
is.
kept it in sector A where it belonged, you might have lost your job.
Yep. Yep.
So you took it home to sector C to your children who can't fire you regretfully,
Yeah.
or your wife
Yeah.
who only has one way to deal with this, and that's divorce.
Yeah.
And she's not quite to that level yet.
No.
So you just dumped all your corporate stress on someone that can't fire you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've reverted to
No recourse.
Not cool.
So you guys go home and take all of your stress out on your wives that you have for me as your boss.
That's right.
I've used your line before, though. My answer button's broke tonight, so
Yes.
let's postpone until tomorrow night.
Yes. Right.
We'll talk about work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
that's where we live.
it's
That's where we live.
You know, really, there's times that there's times that saying nothing is okay, and sometimes more effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking specifically right now in the realm of confrontation, communication that's a bit tense. You don't have to respond to everything. That's a key.
Yeah.
And I've done that as recently as the last few weeks, where in communication went, I'm going to sleep on that. I'm not going to send that email till the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to reread that in the morning and see how that looks with a fresh night of sleep after I've meditated on God in my early devotion. And I've thanked God for how good he's been to me. And
Well, there, you're just going for it.
yeah. And maybe that helps recalibrate
Yeah. Change
the tone
my tone.
of what I'm needing to say.
Change my tone.
Okay? So I think it's very important, and we're coming to the end of this. So let's just look at a couple of biblical recommendations for how we should speak.
Yeah, these are good. Proverbs 15:1 in Amplified says, "A soft answer turns away wrath,
No, just an answer.
Nope.
but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise utters knowledge rightly,
They utter it rightly.
but the mouth of the self-confident fool pours out folly. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch upon the evil and the good. A gentle tongue with its healing power is a tree of life, but willful contrariness in it breaks down the spirit."
So the tongue, if it's gentle, will heal and produce life. But willful, contrary speech breaks down the spirit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Proverbs 25:11.
These don't need very much commentary, so just go ahead.
Yeah. Proverbs 25:11 says, "A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pictures of silver."
God. Okay.
Ephesians
Surely it gets better. Let's go.
Ephesians 4:14, "That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive, but speaking the truth in love."
But speaking the truth in love may
Grow
okay.
up into him.
So the outcropping of the right tone.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not talking about whether something's truth or false.
Right.
We're now talking about if truth is spoken properly.
That's right.
Growth will never happen if truth is communicated in anything but love.
Ooh.
The two ingredients that Paul is identifying here is that we've got to be able to communicate truth, but we have to do it in love. Okay? Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 29.
"Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Yeah.
Wow. Is this connecting with anybody today?
Man, it's connected with me.
For sure.
Yep. This is...
So the wrap up is this, folks. We've already mentioned this. This is not being communicated to you from the peaks of accomplishment.
Man.
The mountain peaks of accomplishment. But this is a goal that we've all got to strive for. If we'll meditate on the right stuff, if we'll learn how to deal with disappointment and discouragement, if we'll deal with guilt and we'll be repentant, I think that'll help us with the tone of what we're saying. Well, bless God, at least I told them the truth. Okay. Did you do that with love? Right? Because if you didn't do it with love, it won't produce no fruit.
Yeah, nothing's going to grow.
Now, love is not this squishy, ooey gooey thing that forces truth to be transformed into a lie. But you still can communicate something with the right tone. That's something being truth. You still can communicate truth with the right tone. Even when you're praying. The church that I pastor hears us say this all the time. Be careful for nothing.
But in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving.
With thanksgiving.
Let your requests be made
Let your requests be made known to God. You better never ask him for anything without thanking him for something. That keeps the tone of your questioning right. I got a question to ask you, but before it's over, I'm going to thank you for how far down you reached and how far up you've brought me, and for every prayer. I'm talking to you about the prayers you didn't answer right now, but before it's over, I'm going to thank you again for the ones that you did answer. I'm going to make sure that the tone of what I'm saying reflects properly, because at the end of this prayer, I want it to be said that they spoke this right. So, tone